Hi friends, welcome back. So we've got some breaking news. Volkswagen is going to be investing $1 billion into Rivian. This is the story right now in the market. I want to go over some of the details, share my thoughts, and get yours as well. So headlines, Rivian soars. Well, the headline says 30% after Volkswagen takes $1 billion stake, but I'm looking at it right now and it's saying 39.46%. So if you're in Rivian in the after hours, you're seeing a ton of green, so congrats. I think this is a major deal. And I read another thing that said here, upon agreement of the 50-50 joint venture, again, this is Rivian and Volkswagen, Volkswagen will receive, quote, immediate access to Rivian's EV software for use in its own cars. Now, I have not driven a Rivian for myself. So for those of you who have, I'd like to hear what are your thoughts on Rivian software. This is one of the experiences, and I've told you guys many times, I really like Tesla's UI experience. I think now there's things I don't like about Tesla, but I'm just saying I like their UI experience. I think it's designed really well. And if you don't know UI, user interface. I'd be curious if Rivian's is also up to par. Now, there's more than to software than just the way that it looks. Obviously, you want it to function because you could say, hey, FSD software looks good, but doesn't really work that well, et cetera. But I think though, in terms of say like a Volkswagen or Toyota, Honda, et cetera, some of the older automakers, their UI designs aren't great, and the software is just frankly not great. However, since Rivian is built from the ground up to be a little bit more modern and obviously EV, et cetera, I think this is actually pretty big because you're talking about Volkswagen, who's a major manufacturer. I've been a fan of Volkswagen for years. Now, I'll say for years, as of late, I haven't been so impressed with their lineup and these kind of things. And I think they had that whole scandal with the, if you guys remember, was it the diesel one? This is actually a major thing. There's actually, and I was thinking about this too, because Volkswagen's a European, German automaker. And there's been some interesting developments going on in Europe, so I want to tie this together. Another headline is that China's trying to make a deal in the EU, and it has to do with over basically you pat my back, I'll pat yours, because the EV was talked about tariffs here. The EU was increasing tariffs on Chinese EVs, and then China's like, yo, if you want to negotiate. You lower our tariffs on our EVs in Europe, and we will lower EVs on, I keep saying EVs, we'll lower tariffs on your EVs, right, for your European manufacturers, be it your BMWs, Mercedes, et cetera. It's interesting actually too, because this comes at a time when the USA is massively raising tariffs. I think it was like 100% tariffs on Chinese EVs. Canada's doing the same. And now you're getting some European investment into, Rivian, which is a U.S. automaker. I'm mentioning all of these things like, EU, China, USA, because I want you to understand that this is a global market. It's not just one company or country involved. Sometimes if you watch the Tesla Bulls, they make it act like that, Tesla's the only vehicle manufacturer in the whole world. As it turns out, too, there's some interesting news coming from Tesla. We actually have a number on how many Cybertrucks we think have been made total. According to this, and this is the reason why this comes up, is because Tesla, remember they had the Cybertruck, they had the whole pedal problem where the accelerator would get stuck, which is not a good thing. You don't want your accelerator stuck on the downward position. Now they had to recall Cybertruck. The window shield wipers don't work. This is a true story. This is the headline. Tesla recalls Cybertruck to fix faulty windshield shield wipers and also loose trim. We've seen the loose trim stuff, like it just parts of the truck just peels off. Then it says here, according to this, I guess the amount of trucks that were recalled, it's the vehicle population, as they call it, but all of them, 11,688. So they actually haven't been making that many of these. And this is essentially, well, one is, obviously the Cybertruck's expensive, and also to be fair, Rivian trucks are not cheap. I think you're looking at nearly $100,000 vehicles on those. My understanding though, with the Rivians are highly reviewed. However, they are also losing a ton of money. The number I read, and talking about Rivian yes, we're talking about Cybertruck didn't really make that many, so I don't think that's. I'm trying to say like that market is not locked up. There's a lot of opportunity there. The Ford Lightning, I don't even know if many of those are on the road. Because I remember when Ford announced, there's a lot of people were pre-ordering these things. If I had to choose, and talk about the truck market, and truck market's pretty big. Don't sleep on truck market. I personally think, just from what I've seen from early reviews and you know what I kind of know of the newer vehicles coming out, if I were just talking about car alone, car design alone, I think the Rivian is the one to beat in the truck market. I just said car and truck at the same time. What would be crazy is if Rivian announced, you know, some sort of like, you know, SUV offering or crossover offering or compact. But they're parting with Volkswagen, so you know why not? Why not? The problem though is that these kind of companies are expensive to start up, right? So this right here, I'll read it. Rivian reported a loss of 1.45 billion during the first quarter of this year. That's losing a heck of a lot of money, guys. So even, you know, you're getting $1 billion from Volkswagen. Certainly that sounds like a lot of money, but when you're losing, you know, 1.45 billion in a quarter, you need a lot. According to this, though, too, they're saying Rivian has 7.86 billion in cash equivalents, and short-term investments. So, you know, they're not going to go out of business anytime soon. I mean, they got money. Well, I mean, if you're saying you're losing, you know, $1.5 billion a quarter, you got 7.5. So I guess you could survive another year or so. Plus, you got some Volkswagen money. There's always been rumors that something like an Apple would invest in Rivian. If that were to happen, that would be absolutely cray-cray. I think that would be the one. But that's rumor. So Apple thing's rumor. Volkswagen's real. I can't remember if I ever heard any rumors of Apple and Volkswagen teaming up. There were rumors for a while of Apple and Porsche teaming up. If you guys heard that one. All right, so more other news here. We talk about Rivian all day, but I think that's really big news. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. And yeah, Rivian's pretty big. Here's another one. GM Cruise names former Amazon, Microsoft, Xbox executive as CEO. So that's the autonomous thing over at GM Cruise. And essentially, by naming a new CEO, they're just going to try to take the company in a new direction. The issue with this stuff, and this is something where the bulls will try to tell you, what Tesla bulls that is, try to tell you that, you know, robot taxis and these kind of things are going to make a big money maker for them. It's not a big money maker for Cruise. It's not really a big money maker for Waymo. The issue is that they're concerned about safety, so they need to put a bunch more equipment, be it your LiDARs and cameras, right, both, into the car to try to make these things safe. Tesla's like, oh no, we're just going to do it with just camera, which I think is a big mistake. And what people always say in comments, and I like talking to those guys in the community, is like, the problem with the camera is, you know, what if it gets dirty? It's like really simple like that. What if it's like really sunny out and it can't see? You know, moreover, the whole LiDAR situation, like the main reason why Tesla doesn't do it is just cost. Which obviously, yes, from a business perspective, sure, do it as cheap as you can, try to pump these things out. But from a safety perspective, you know, it clearly would be better with, you know, a combination of cameras and LiDAR. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. What I think it is crazy, though, is when the bulls act like I'm just making stuff up that, you know, LiDAR might be a little bit better. They're like, oh, Chris, you don't need it. You know, Elon Musk said that all we need is cameras. And he's awesome, and he never lies, right? That's what they say. Here's another headline too, which I think is a big one. And I point this stuff out is when we talk about this stuff, you know, we want to know about individual companies, what they're up to, also too about the macro. U.S. auto sales are expected to slow during the second half of 2024. This according to Cox Auto, so that they always put out pretty good numbers. It says here, Cox Automotive expects U.S. Sales growth to slow during the second half of the year 2024 at 15.7 million units, roughly a 1.3% increase compared to 2023. So I guess it's going up to 2023, but just not that much. And that's sales. Now, one thing I thought was interesting, they're talking about here, it says vehicle inventory levels are growing. So there's just a whole bunch of vehicles and you know, inventory. And I know we've seen a lot of reports, and I've seen the images for myself. And actually, occasionally some people will you know, post like this parking lot's full of unsold Teslas. There was one, do you guys remember it was in Europe? I can't remember which country it was. There was a whole bunch of Teslas like sitting at an abandoned airfield. And you could actually see it from Google Maps. You can see the satellite of it. And that's a true story. If you find my little video, you'll find it on that. That's a real problem though, unsold vehicles. So essentially the automakers then have to offer discounts to clear this stuff. And you know, if you're a consumer, obviously, or maybe not obviously to everyone, I'll just tell you the truth. You know, sometimes when a new model comes out, let's say, you know, you could buy the 2023 model and the new, you know, 24s, and then you got another one, the new 25 model or whatever. I mean, sometimes the differences between years is pretty minute. And sometimes this is real mechanically. Sometimes the older one could be a little bit better. But, you know, if you're on the lot or whatever, and they're going to offer you an incentive to buy a new car and get an older model. Take the incentive. Don't pay extra to get that newer year. And I always like to hear your guys' thoughts on that one. And read reviews on these things, right? Be honest with yourself with this stuff. Here's another one, guys, which I think is interesting. This is actually a pretty big story. I probably could have led with this. EU charges Microsoft with antitrust violations over Teams. We're talking about Microsoft's Teams. And my understanding is it's the way that Microsoft Teams bundles it with your Microsoft 365 thing. So basically, this is big news because the EU went after Apple. We just talked about that. Was that like yesterday? I can't remember. It was recently. And now EU is going after Microsoft. Could Google be next? I'm sure they'll come up with something. And says here, Brussels has accused Microsoft of anti-competitive behavior by bundling its Teams app with its Office suite in the first such antitrust charges brought against the tech group in more than a decade. So they've done it before. The quote here is they're saying that it has unfair advantage and hurts companies like a Slack or a Zoom. And the idea is that you're tying it together. So anyway, that's what's going on in the markets today. Love to hear your thoughts. Thank you for everyone for watching, and I will catch you all in the next video.